Welcome back to my channel, where we share the scariest horror stories written by our subscribers. I was living in a small town about 45 minutes outside of Toronto, Canada, with my husband and 2 kids. Our home was an older farmhouse with a wraparound porch and a detached garage. My daughter was not allowed to go in the hallway by herself because she was too young, and there were sharp objects and tools in the boxes that could hurt her. Also, she knew this rule well, and we had never had a problem before. The house had been in my husband's family for over 100 years. My mind was running wild. What if she climbed up in the attic? What if someone had taken her? When we left the house, it was shut and locked. My husband checked to see if it was unlocked, and it was. Then she looked behind her and said, "Oh, there's Dolly," and she walked away. I don't remember what I said or how I said it, but I told the little girl that she needed to leave. She stopped and turned her head and looked directly at me with the creepiest smile and said, "Why do you want me to leave? I've been playing hide and seek with your daughter." I remembered distinctly that the door was locked when we left, and that Mark had checked it to make sure it was unlocked. I said, I wouldn't joke about something like this." He took a deep breath and tried to calm me down, said that we should go check on our daughter to make sure that she's okay. I turned around slowly and saw what looked exactly like my daughter walking toward me on the deck. But what really freaked me out was that the little girl was right. My daughter was playing with 3 children, a little girl, a little boy, and a baby. That's the perfect ending to a scary story. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this episode, then please subscribe for more scary stories. My mom came over and helped us take care of the kids while Mark and I called the police. We were playing together on the floor with my daughter's Barbies. He said that it probably was just some kids from the neighborhood and that we should just forget about it. My husband and I were still freaked out about the whole thing and the fact that the front door was locked and then unlocked, but it wasn't my daughter. It was the same little girl that I had seen in the hallway earlier. I jumped up and so did the other kids. They all looked at me and started screaming and crying. Then when we go to look, there's nobody there. The little girl with them dropped my daughter's Barbie and ran off. We were both so relieved that she must have just opened it and gone out to the yard somewhere. We just couldn't see her anywhere. The weird thing was that we never had any problems after that. No strange kids ever showed up in our yard, and our daughter never mentioned any of it again. We started to run around the house calling her name and checking everywhere. I was calling her name hysterically, and then suddenly I heard footsteps on the back deck. I turned around and there was my daughter. She was fine. She hadn't been missing for more than 5 minutes, maybe less. I was so relieved. I knelt down next to her and asked her why she didn't answer. When? I called her name and how she got outside with the door being locked. My husband even climbed up into the attic to see if she was up there. I explained that the little girl said that she was playing hide and seek with our daughter. Mark looked at me strangely and said, "There's no way. That's impossible." He told me that I had been standing by the door the whole time that our daughter was outside, and that I had to have opened the door myself. It had been neglected for the last few decades, and we were in the process of renovating it. The scariest part of these stories is that they're all true, and tonight's story is no exception. From a Reddit user, Horror, I saw myself walking into my house. Our 2 kids are grown now, but at the time they were both under the age of 10 and very active. While I was kneading the dough, I heard what sounded like my daughter's voice from down the hallway. She was singing one of her favorite songs. It was then that I noticed that she wasn't holding anything, and she wasn't alone. She was with a little boy and a baby. They're all smiling and laughing, and they seemed happy. I looked toward the hallway and saw what looked like my daughter walking through the boxes. I stopped what I was doing, stood up and yelled for her to come out of the hallway. Of course, no answer. I started to get worried. There was no way she could have gotten past all those boxes without me hearing her. As any kid would be, they were always playing hide and seek, hide and go seek throughout the summer. We called it the best. One evening, my husband Mark was working on some renovations in the garage. My son was out exploring in the nearby woods, and my daughter was inside playing alone while I was getting dinner ready. We didn't have much furniture at the time, and most of the rooms were empty, but there were a lot of boxes stacked up in the hallway. At the time, I was making homemade pizza dough on the kitchen table, which is right next to the hallway. Mark came in from the garage to see what was wrong, and I told him what I just saw. He said, "Don't be silly. You know she's never gone in there by herself." So he went to check while I called out for her again. Still nothing. And Mark came back into the kitchen and said, "She's not in there anywhere. Let's look outside." We ran outside to find her. When we couldn't find her anywhere, we started to panic. As we were running around, we noticed that the front door was open. My husband and I split up to keep looking for her. She looked at me and said, "I didn't know you wanted me to come out. I was playing hide and seek with my dolly." I was confused and scared. Before I could say anything else, the little girl walked past me and into the backyard. I went to Mark and told him what I just saw. I told him that I did not open the door, so we went back into the house. Now, my daughter was nowhere to be seen. I was sitting there talking to my husband, not knowing what to do or what to say, when suddenly my daughter looked up at me and screamed, "Mommy, why is that girl eating my Barbie?" Mark and I looked at each other, and then at the kids, and then at my daughter. And then we started to scream for my mom, who lived across the road. When the police came, they searched the area, but couldn't find anyone. It was until the next day, when the sun was shining, and everything seemed normal, that we realized that the door must have just been unlocked by itself. But every once in a while, my husband and I will be sitting on the deck, enjoying the sunshine, and we'll hear what sounds like children laughing and playing in the yard. Yeah, that escalated quickly. So these days, whenever my daughter goes to play outside, we make sure that the doors are locked.